Hi, I'm Allie, and I couldn't do this video sober. So, there's something we need to talk about. We as a nation are on the brink of a second civil war. And this has been something that's been thrown around. The idea of a second civil war has been thrown around for decades. And for the past couple hundred years. They thought the civil rights movement was going to be another civil war. They thought that the women's rights movement was going to be another civil war. They thought that the Vietnam War was going to become a civil war because people were protesting. As long as people have voices, they will protest. Sometimes their protesting is not in the right light. Sometimes their protesting doesn't make any sense to you or to me, but it makes sense to them, which is what is important. The main thing you have to remember is that no matter what someone can do, they can kill you, they can hurt you, they can maim you. They cannot silence you. And now I know what you're thinking. Yeah, you could totally kill someone and then silence them. They wouldn't be talking anymore. Yes. Maybe, 100 years ago that would be true. But now we have technology. We have things like this, YouTube, where I can openly speak my opinion and no one can really do anything about it except block it. They can take it down. But, a movement like this, an ideal like this, shared by millions of people, you cut off one head, it's like a hydra. It's going to grow back 3 more. For every one person who is silenced, 10 more will scream at the top of their lungs. A couple years ago, a couple years ago, there was this really douchey guy who didn't like a certain people for a certain reason. They were from somewhere in specific. They had some specific beliefs, and he didn't like them. So he separated their children from the parents, and he put them in camps, and he discriminated against them, had them wear patches saying who they are, and, stating their beliefs. And he had these people carry papers, and if people didn't have their papers on them, they could be sent to these camps or deported. Now, you could be thinking of 2 different people right now. The people that I am talking about are the Jews and Adolf Hitler. This guy was democratically elected. He was a Führer, which essentially is a president. He was voted into office. He was not a dictator, as people like to state, because by definition, a dictator is someone who takes their power through militia gain. So they take it through the use of a militia, be that an army, a marine, something of the sort. Now, the other person that I could be talking about is Donald Trump. He's been doing the exact same thing that Adolf Hitler did, except the people he's doing it to aren't considered white. I don't quite understand how to convey to you that you should care about other people. And the problem is, I can't even begin to do that if you do not believe that they are people in the first place. It has become an issue that is not just a religious or political issue. This is people's lives at stake. Before he started running as president, I at the time was not old enough legally to vote. So that's a thing. I was not old enough legally, but I was very informed upon what was happening politically. I've always been kind of an opinionated person. I like knowing what's going on around me. It didn't really bother me that he was running, because, you know, people who are complete nutcases run all the time. They just don't always get elected. And people that I knew that were Republican said, well, he couldn't be any worse than Bush. George Bush was not a terrible president. He was kind of dumb, but he did what he needed to do, and he didn't, unless you believe in the whole, you know, Bush did 9/11 thing, he didn't incur the wrath of many other nations. You know, he didn't liken certain people to animals. He didn't dehumanize entire cultures. Two people in history that I'm speaking of have. Trump and Adolf. And back in time, there's been the same thing happening over and over and over again. And his supporters and followers have the same rhetoric. They also treat certain people, be it Mexicans, Latinx in general. They treat Muslims, blacks, people of color, of all colors, other than, you know, pasty. It is disturbing the amount of people that I have seen support this man in this rhetoric and believing that people shouldn't be considered people. Now, I pass as white. I am a white female. I do have blue eyes. I could be considered privileged, and I recognize this. I've never had issues with living my life due to my skin color. But as many of you know, I come from a mixed-race family. My father is mixed race. And I have seen firsthand the way people of color are treated. I am bisexual. A lot of you know this. I have had people genuinely dislike me as a person because of my, you know, sexual dating preferences, which is sad. And, you know, being 2,000 years away from the birth of Christ, you would think people would have caught on by now that being gay is not that big of a deal. And you would think that the people who are perpetrating these ideals, majority Christian, Catholic, Baptist, just that general sect of Christianity, which is, it's just a big branch system, you would think that those people would recognize that people of other religions and people of other preferences are still people due to their own book, Jesus saying, love thy neighbor, with no stipulations, mind you. And the fact that, you know, Jesus Christ himself regularly hung out with crooks, thieves, prostitutes. I myself am not religious at all. I know a lot about religion because people have tried to use it against me. And in turn, I learned about it and then use it back against them. Level the playing field. The problem with trying to convey to other people that they should care about other people is you could have this argument for days and days and days, and they will ignore your points. They will ignore facts. They will completely disregard and say that they are right. It's kind of like trying to play chess with a pigeon. Doesn't matter how good you are at chess. The pigeon will still shit all over the board and then strut across it like it's won. And there's really no way to deal with these people. The only thing that you as a person can do is attempt and try your hardest to be there for these people and to know your rights and know what can and cannot be done for you. And I'm not one to suggest violence in any way of the word. I don't like physical violence. I believe that most things can be solved with verbal contact. But sometimes the only option you have is to punch the Nazi. And then there's people who will take your argument and spin it to make you seem uncredible, to make you seem like you are just like these other people who are not people. What people don't understand about, just in general, what they don't understand about immigration is that originally there was no immigration laws. Like, you came, you left, it was easy, it was a thing. You would come in, work for 5 to 10 years, and then leave. When the original immigration laws were passed, I think under Reagan, the laws were passed, and instead of it being a revolving door of people coming in and out, it became a wall. Metaphorical wall, but a wall nonetheless. People would come in and then not leave because they don't know if they can get back in. Or they were afraid of being prosecuted. And it becomes an issue because then there's a surplus of immigrants. Even though the United States, as is now, is not working at replacement level, which means for every one woman is not having 2.5 children in order to, replace. Which in all terms is not really a bad thing. Not yet, anyway. Humans as a species are not going to go extinct anytime soon. At least not because of lack of reproduction. In general, humans are a pretty resilient species. And the reason we are resilient is because we know how to communicate. There is a lack of communication between us and them. There is a lack of understanding between us and them. Whether you are on the conservative or the liberal side, you will understand that it is an issue. It's not a political thing anymore. It's a human thing. Should humans be at the top of the food chain? Probably not. Not anymore. We don't deserve it. Should I probably stop talking and making this video because I'm probably over the legal limit? Yeah, definitely. I guess the point of this video was for me to rant and say, wake the fuck up. Listen to people instead of talking. And, understand that just because someone is brown or someone likes guys does not mean that they are less human. It's really shitty to have a constitution that cannot enforce a religion and then base all of your laws and logic off religion. Doesn't make much sense at all. So yeah, that's a thing. Have fun, y'all. See you later. Adios.